The golden sun had begun to retreat behind the ornate rooftops of Montevia, casting long, twisting shadows through the narrow, winding streets of the city's historic quarter. For Daniel Reed, the lively atmosphere that had charmed him just hours before was now a maze of confusion and growing fear. He'd arrived that morning full of enthusiasm, armed with a battered guidebook and a phrasebook filled with helpful Spanish expressions. He dreamed of wandering through open plazas, tasting local delicacies, and soaking in the culture. But the reality of the city's labyrinthine alleys and the rapid-fire Spanish he heard on every corner quickly overwhelmed him. Now, as the sky shifted from orange to a bruised purple, Daniel found himself hopelessly lost. His phone screen was dim and uncooperative, the GPS signal lost hours ago. His fingers shook as he scrolled through his contacts to the local emergency number, the one that promised help no matter the situation. Swallowing the rising panic, he pressed the call button. The line connected instantly, and a crisp, clear voice answered on the other end. "Emergencias, ¿en qué puedo ayudar?" Daniel's throat tightened. He swallowed hard and tried his broken Spanish. "Hola. I'm lost. I do not speak well Spanish. I need help." The dispatcher, Sofia Morales, was a veteran of the Montevia 911 center. Years of hearing cries, pleas, and urgent calls had sharpened her skills to catch every word, every nuance, even when language was a barrier. She switched to a slower, simpler Spanish, peppered with English words she knew tourists understood. "Dónde está usted?" "Where are you?" Daniel looked around wildly, eyes landing on a small café with bright neon letters flashing El Gran Café. "I'm near, big café, plaza," he said, voice cracking with uncertainty. Montevia's streets were packed with dozens of plazas, each bustling with locals and tourists. Sofia knew without a clear location, sending help was like chasing ghosts. "Which plaza? What color is the café?" Daniel shook his head, frustration mounting. "I don't know, many people, big café." Sofia typed furiously into the system, cross-referencing reports of lost tourists, disturbances, and recent incidents near the city's major plazas. "Is there a landmark?" "A statue, a fountain?" she asked softly. "Fountain, yes." "Fountain, with lions?" Daniel replied, hope flickering in his voice. Sofia's eyes scanned her screens. Plaza de los Leones, the Lions Plaza, was a popular spot, bustling in the daylight but nearly empty now, shadows pooling as night fell. "Stay where you are. Don't move," Sofia urged. "Police and assistance will come to you." Suddenly, Daniel's voice dropped, trembling. "There's a man, with a dog, he looks angry. He's coming closer." Sofia's heart skipped a beat. "Do not approach. Stay calm." "I'm scared," Daniel whispered. Before Sofia could reassure him further, static filled the line. The connection crackled, then went dead. She redialed immediately, but the call went to voicemail. Sofia sprang into action, alerting nearby patrols and mobilizing search teams with the last known information. In the streets, officers spread out, navigating cobblestone lanes illuminated only by the occasional flicker of candlelight or flashlight beams. The blackout that had blanketed the city since early evening had left residents wary and on edge. Among them was Hector Morales, a local volunteer in the neighborhood watch. He was a wiry man in his late 40s, known for his fierce protection of his district but cautious around outsiders. When the officers found Daniel crouched behind a low wall, drenched in sweat and breathing hard, Hector watched with suspicion. "Who's this stranger?" he muttered. Luis, a bilingual officer fluent in English and Spanish, knelt beside Daniel, offering a calm smile. "Senor Reed, we're here to help you," Luis said softly. Daniel's relief was palpable. Yet cultural nuances and language barriers complicated even this small rescue. When Daniel tried to thank Hector, his halting Spanish and gestures were misunderstood as disrespect. A tense moment passed before Luis gently intervened, explaining the situation and smoothing over the misunderstanding. As Daniel was escorted safely to the police station, Sofia remained at her desk, monitoring incoming calls and coordinating resources. Her fingers paused over the keyboard as she reflected on the night's events. It wasn't just about dispatching ambulances or sending police. It was about bridging worlds, between languages, cultures, fears, and hope. The phone rang again. She answered swiftly. 911, what's your emergency? And the delicate dance of human connection began anew. The cool night air outside the police station felt foreign and unfamiliar to Daniel Reed as he stepped onto the cracked sidewalk, the city's chaos still swirling faintly around him. Though the safety of the station had calmed the frantic beating of his heart, he was painfully aware that he was still a stranger in a place that spoke a language only half understood. His phone's battery was nearly dead, and the darkness of Montevia's night pressed in, deepening the isolation he felt. Inside the station, Luis, who had been the vital bridge between Daniel and the local authorities, arranged for a volunteer guide to meet him. The guide's job was simple, yet essential, to help Daniel navigate the maze of Montevia's streets, its customs, and its overwhelming culture. Luis watched as Daniel's shoulders sagged with relief, the first real smile breaking through since he had become lost. Back at the 911 dispatch center, Sofia Morales sat with a quiet satisfaction mixed with a gnawing unease. The call with Daniel had been one thread in a tapestry of urgent, sometimes heartbreaking calls stretching across Montevia tonight. The blackout was still crippling large sections of the city. Emergency services were stretched thin, and every call felt like a race against time and misunderstanding. Her fingers tapped a message to the volunteer group confirming the guide's arrival. Then, a new call lit up her console. Número uno, ¿en qué puedo ayudarlo? The voice was trembling, foreign-accented and fragmented, coming from a woman trapped in a basement apartment somewhere in the sprawling old town. My mother, she fell, she can't move, the caller said, gasping for breath. The water, rising fast. Sofia's pulse quickened. She switched swiftly to simplified Spanish, interspersed with English words she knew the caller might grasp. ¿Dónde está? ¿Cuál es la dirección? The woman gave a jumble of words, names that made little sense to Sofia's ear. The old town streets were tangled, many unofficial, named differently by locals, tourists, or official maps. Sofia's heart sank. Dispatching rescue teams without a clear location in this blackout was like chasing ghosts. She called on Luis again. Luis, can you help? Moments later, Luis was on the radio, his voice calm and confident. I'm on it. I'm guiding the caller to help us. Stay with me. Hours passed like minutes as Sofia coordinated with search and rescue teams, paramedics, and volunteers willing to wade through flooded alleys to find the trapped woman. Meanwhile, Daniel's guide led him through the maze-like streets, avoiding flooded thoroughfares and darkened plazas. Along the way, the cultural walls that once seemed so daunting began to fall. The guide, a warm woman named Isabel, explained customs, pointed out landmarks, and patiently answered Daniel's stammering questions. Yet every interaction was still shadowed by language barriers and subtle misunderstandings. At a corner café, a friendly wave turned into an awkward pause when Daniel misread a hand gesture. A taxi driver refused to take him because he didn't speak Spanish clearly. Small, exhausting hurdles piled atop the looming anxiety. Back at the dispatch center, the flood of emergency calls never ceased. An elderly man with a heart condition was trapped in his home by rising waters, a father frantic after his child disappeared in the darkness, a disabled woman stranded in an elevator of a powerless high-rise. Sofia's voice never faltered as she juggled priorities, patched calls, and soothed frightened voices. At one point, a call came from a restaurant kitchen where a gas leak had been detected. The owner was panicked, unable to locate the shutoff valve, speaking fast and heavily accented Spanish. Sofia's patient instructions helped avert what could have been a catastrophic explosion. Hours turned into the early morning. Exhausted but unyielding, Sofia and her team kept the fragile thread of communication alive, knitting together a city fragmented by darkness and fear. As the sky lightened, Sofia finally received an update from Luis about the woman trapped in the basement. She's safe now, extracted by rescue teams. Medical aid en route. A collective sigh of relief washed over the center. Sofia leaned back, rubbing her temples. Daniel's message arrived shortly after. He had reached his hotel safely, tired but thankful. But the night's work was far from over. The blackout's ripple effects stretched beyond emergencies to isolation, confusion, and a desperate need for connection. And through it all, Sofia knew the true challenge lay not just in dispatching aid but in bridging worlds, between languages, cultures, fears, and hopes. The phone rang again. Sofia took a deep breath. Número uno, ¿en qué puedo ayudarlo? And the delicate, vital dance began once more.